We're back one more time. Seven Rivers Racing on KQEG TV. Dan Dyker along with Al Losi. Steve Bachman drives North Country Contractor Sports number 14. Getting you set for the races this weekend. Before I forget, there were 3 drivers last weekend driving with the black stripe over the number. It was a good friend of mine over the past 5 or 6 years at the Crosse Fairgrounds Speedway. Passed away a couple of weeks ago. Richard Schrader. And Richard would bring the world's largest notebook with him to the racetrack. He would capture every single qualifying time. He would sit right down below where I announced that and would always put the finger up on who just qualified where before they would up in turn 1. And they left the seat open for him. That's will always be his seat. He's been there, I think, 30 or 40 years as a race fan. And going to be very, very solemnly missed at the racetrack.
And there are people out at the racetrack that sit up on the hill there watching the race that become fixtures out there, and he was definitely one of them.
Well, our guest, Steve Bachman, was a fixture up there last year. I saw you floating by each and every race last weekend or last year, and I get to talk to you a couple of times after the races. And man, you had that 6-year-old, you just stole my bicycle look on your face. You wanted to get back on that track last year.
Well, that's hard from racing 10 years like that and having to sit up on the hill and watch everybody do what you love to do.
And of course, Steve said last year. Did you learn anything, though? I know you and I talked on my radio show, WKTY AM 580, by the way, 4 to 5 on Saturdays. Listen to the race report. We talked last week on the radio show that you actually learned quite a bit by watching all the races last year.
Yep, after sitting in the seat for a year and feeling out what a race car does, to actually go up on the hill and watch a lot of things people don't see because of the 1 year of experience I did have, I was watching what the Gilsters were doing and all them fast guys, what they were doing when they were going through wrecks and going around each other on the outside and how they drive the race cars in the corners and out of the corners. I just kept all that in my head and using it this year.
How much? Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to ask you if you were able to sit in turn 4 for one night and then turn 1 in another night, just to see how the cars were entering, how the body roll was for some cars and how it wasn't, to give you an idea not just on how to drive the car, but how to look for different clues in how to set your car up.
Actually, I did. I sat in the chalet the one night and ate burgers and watched the race, and then the other night I went up on the turn 4 grandstands and watched from there, and it's just the difference between them corners is a huge deal.
Well, you're getting a different perspective if you watch some of the race videos we run here as well. Whether it's a crash, whether it's a close race, I love the way KQEG TV runs or tapes the shows because they do it from the grandstand area just to the left of the stripe. But then you've also got great footage of up into turn 1, where a lot of stuff has happened this year, and then they get some great footage of turn 4. So you're getting 3 good perspectives. Not only as a race fan, but as a driver yourself on, okay, this is how tight I can take this corner. If I want to go to the outside in turn 4, I know how much room I'm going to have, and it kind of opens things up a lot more than when you're actually sitting in your car.
It does, and to go into turn 1, I swear that corner changes every week, and turn 1 is just, you see a lot more wrecks happening in that corner than you do in 3 and 4. 3 and 4 just seems like a nice sailing corner, just nice and comfortable, but the way that Thunderstock tracks meets in there, it kind of makes 1 and 2 kind of tricky, and there's a bump in there too, so you can't hit that.
Do you find that it's not just week to week, but that as the race goes on, that corner is changing? Because we've noticed that too in the late model division. It just seems like as you're going in, sometimes your angles need to change going in as the race progresses.
Yeah, you got to work with your car too. The car changes, and 25 laps on Hoosier tires, and then put the Goodyears out there, you know, from practice, you know, the heat and going out there every time. That just everything seems to get different.
Are you able to change your brake bias inside the car?
No, I'm not.
You're not. Okay.
I wish I could.
Before we run out of time, we do want to let you know Steve is back running full time this year, and you couldn't have done it with a whole boatload of sponsors.
Right, I want to thank my sponsors, Newman Farms, Olympic Builders, Edward Jones, Bond Drywall, CNC Machine, Tusker's Custom Homes, Northern Battery, and Fastenal.
And I know a lot of those sponsors have stayed with you through the past couple of years.
Yep, we picked up 2 or 3 this year. Those guys are a huge help. Fastenal, Northern Battery came on board, and them guys are a huge help.
Well, dropping sponsor names, United Auto Supply always has a huge shindig at the racetrack at La Crosse each year. That's going to be happening this weekend. I've seen crowds of 500, 600, 800, a lot of employees come out. Well, one in particular that's going to be out this weekend that's driving for Federated, has driven for over 30 years, owns 3 racetracks, has made over $25 million since he started racing. And as a matter of fact, he still dirt races. A guy you kind of tinkered with the Winston Cup years ago, Kenny Schrader, is going to be coming out.
Yeah, I had a friend who ended up being a computer person for Kenny and drove his motorhome. So I was lucky enough to be in the pits for a few races out on the West Coast. Some of them were Winston West races, and there was a couple of Cup races where I was in the pits and ended up doing things with the team. And so it'll be kind of nice to see him. I didn't really do a whole lot with him, but it'll be fun to bring back a few memories.
Well, I had him on my WKTY AM 580 race report last Saturday, and Steve Bachman got to talk to him for a couple of moments and had that little boyish grin because this is Kenny Schrader. You drop that kind of a name, and you can mix that up with the Dale Earnhardts of late, and the Petties, and all. I mean, that big group of maybe 15, 20 drivers you heard about during the 80s, the 70s and 80s into the early 90s that raced, and of course Kenny Schrader was one of them. So we look forward to seeing him at the racetrack this weekend. Maybe I'll try to pull him aside, and Bachman and you and him can share one of those famous Clemens sausages.
Sounds good.
Steve Bachman will be back out this weekend. Drives the number 14 North Country Contractor Sportsman at La Crosse. LaCrosseSpeedway.com. Also Dells RacewayPark.com if you're going to head down to Dells this weekend. MississippiThunder.com if you want some dirt track racing on Friday night. You can watch this program at YouTube.com/Seven Rivers Racing, over 3,000 views and still climbing. Leave a couple of comments if you like the program as well. And if you want to email the show, how can you do so?
You can go to www.fansarena.com/SevenRiversRacingShow.html.
Alrighty, for Steve Bachman, hey, thanks for coming on board, and continued luck to you this season.
Thank you.
Al Losey, you'll see him down in the pits working on the number 49 fansarena.com car of Al Losey during the next couple of weekends as well. Still a lot of racing left. And if you want to find the schedule locally wise, check out LaCrosseSpeedway.com. For Steve Bachman and Al Losey, I'm Dan Dyker. Thanks for stopping by, checking out the program. We'll be back next weekend right here on KQEG TV.